Hello, everyone out there in Rumble, Lex, and YouTube land. Welcome back to Diego Knows. I, of course, am Diego, and today we're going to talk some more about Wicked for Good. Okay, the movie that you're not watching anymore, that nobody cares about anymore. It came out 2 weeks ago. It made $400 million, I believe, that first weekend, which is pretty damn good. Then the following weekend, Zootopia 2 came out, and I took my son to go see that. All right. Did not go to see Wicked. All right, and apparently everyone did that as well, because Wicked made no money that second week. And so I think right now Wicked is sitting at like about almost 500. I think that's what it is. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's like 500. The last Wicked movie did almost 800 million, which was a success. A success, big time. This one is not. It's pretty much flatlined. Okay, because of Zootopia 2 and because it's not as good as the last one. Okay, the songs aren't nearly as memorable. The last movie actually had something to say. Okay, there was a good idea here. Okay, looking at the Wicked Witch of the West's early years before she became the Wicked Witch of the West. She wasn't born evil, right? She was just labeled that. Okay, and we see all the struggles, her insecurities, what she's trying to do. We see her progression. From a nerdy, unattractive girl to an activist, because that's what libtards love. Okay, so we see that progression, and we see how she forms her relationships with her father, her sister, her best friend. She's actually attracted to men. Go figure, right? Yeah, I know, weird, right? But I think they kind of had to put that in there because it was in the book. In the book, she has a son named Lear. Okay, so that means she would have had to have done the nasty with somebody. Okay, I know heterosexuality is disgusting. I get that. It's disgusting for most people that work in Broadway. Which this movie's based on the Broadway show. Okay, it's disgusting for people that are in musical theater. I know, I've done musical theater. I know heterosexuality is so freaking disgusting. It's like so gross. People don't even like to think about it. Okay, or much less talk about it. Okay, same thing with these movies. It's just disgusting. Okay, but unfortunately, that is how the world works. Men and women, you kind of got to get together in order to repopulate the planet. You see what I mean? Okay, so there's kind of no way around it. Okay, if you're going to have a child in a movie, or if your character has children, there's got to be a way for that to have happened. Okay, so I know that discussed the LGBTQ community. I get that, okay? But unfortunately, science is still science and facts are still facts, regardless of your feelings, okay? So they kind of had to do that. Okay, I think if Gregory Maguire had done what he wanted to do, he would have made Elphaba and Glinda lovers, okay? I think that's what would happen. But because he wanted to write a series of books, not just one, he had to make sure that Elphaba had a child, okay, in his book, okay? Not in the movie, but in the book. Okay, and she's gonna have to do the nasty with a man in order for that to happen. Okay, so yeah, so it's kind of like wrote himself into a corner here. Okay, now apparently the sequels, which I have not read, I have read Wicked. Okay, I've not read the sequels. Okay, they have to deal with like her son, and I think there's one about the Cowardly Lion. So there's like a series of books that he wrote. Nobody's gonna make movies out of those books. Okay, the only reason this movie got made was because it was based on the Broadway show, okay, which was an adaptation of the book, okay, and a very successful one. Okay, that's by Stephen Schwartz, who, guess what, is gay. All right, so so he made a gayer version of Wicked by Gregory Maguire, who, by the way, is gay. All right, and he made a gayer version of that for a Broadway show. Means he added songs, dancing, the colorful costumes, and all that stuff. Very successful, especially the iterations done by Idina Menzel as Elphaba and Christian Chenoweth as Glinda. Those were very successful in Broadway. Lots of gay people and old women went to go see those. Okay, and rich people went to go see that. So it was only a matter of time before they turned it into a movie. Okay, and the last Wicked movie from last year was very successful because it knew what it wanted to do, and there was a good story here. Okay, the fact that you didn't have Dorothy or her friends in that movie meant that you could play around a lot with what's happening in Oz. Okay, and I think Gregory Maguire and Stephen Schwartz did a good job with that. Unfortunately, they couldn't stick the landing. Okay, this movie deals with Act 2 of that Broadway play. Now, Act 1 of the Broadway show is an hour and a half. Act 2 of the Broadway show is 45 minutes. This movie's 2 hours. So you have to stretch out a 45-minute story of song and dance and make it last 2 hours. Well, so how do you do that? Simple. You pad the runtime. Okay, you add in songs that were not in the play. Okay, you drag the scenes where people are having their soliloquies where they're just talking to themselves, by themselves. You drag those out to like fucking 20 minutes, okay, each time, in order to make the movie last longer, because there's not very much story, okay. And if you remember the trailers, if you remember all that, the marketing, this is the movie where we're promised Dorothy and her friends are going to be in this one. And they are, but they're not. They're completely sidelined. We see Dorothy from the back. We never get to see her front. She doesn't say anything in the movie. We hear her scream once when she gets abducted by the flying monkeys. But that's it, man. We don't get anything with her and Elphaba. We never see her and Elphaba talk to each other. We never see her and Glinda talk to each other, or the wizard, or any of that stuff. Okay, we don't get to see her react to the Fiyero version of the Scarecrow. Okay, or the Bach version of the Tin Man. We don't see any of that. Okay, I mean, the fact that the Scarecrow and the Tin Man both knew each other when they were both human, that conversation's never had with Dorothy. Okay, so it doesn't reconcile. It doesn't work. I know I say this on every video, but I got to drive that point home. Okay, this doesn't fit in with the 1939 Wizard of Oz. But the whole reason you went to go see this movie, the whole reason you went to go see the Broadway show is because you were promised that it would fit in to the original Wizard of Oz. It would have made it better. You would have realized that the Wicked Witch of the West was not wicked at all. She was actually a good person. Okay, she got steamrolled. Okay, by some negative propaganda. Okay, that was the whole point. Okay, for all of you unattractive women out there who can't get a good-looking, tall, square-jawed, six-pack abs, rich royalty guy, straight with no kids, okay, to fall in love with you, this was your fan fiction. This was your fantasy novel. This was your Twilight. Or in this case, okay, Gregory Maguire, okay, what he did, he didn't see himself as a gay man. He sees himself as an ugly woman. Okay, and this was his fantasy. Okay, his persecution growing up because his dad was Catholic and his mom died giving birth to him. So that's why he put all this crap in the movie and into the book. Okay, you see what I mean? He's basically telling you his own story. He sees himself as Elphaba, an unattractive woman, instead of an unattractive gay man. It's true. It's true. Okay. Okay. So now that we got that background out of the way, where did we leave off last time? Okay, because I want to get into the movie here. All right. I don't want to get sidelined like I did a couple videos ago. All right. So where we left off last time. Okay. The Wizard of Oz, Jeff Goldblum. Yes, Jeff Goldblum and Elphaba. They came to an understanding. They decided they were going to work together. Elphaba had two stipulations for him. Number one is that he had to allow all the animals to come back to the land of Oz, complete with their freedoms, okay, and get rid of the persecution, okay. So they were going to be treated well, and they were going to get citizenship again, okay. No more persecuting the animals, no more locking them up in cages, okay. That's all done, okay. Taking away their rights, no more of that, okay. That's our first stipulation. The other one is that the wizard has his guards, his royal guards are a bunch of blue monkeys. Okay, in the last movie, Elphaba, when she read the magic book, the Grimoire, she accidentally gave them wings. That's how they're able to fly now. Okay, it was very painful when she did that. It was painful for the monkeys. Okay, that was, those wings growing out of their back hurt a lot. So she wants to apologize to them for doing that, and she demands that the wizard set them free. Okay, set them. They no longer work for you. They're not your spies anymore. Okay, set them free. They're going to have full rights, full freedoms, okay? Those are her two stipulations, and then she'll join the wizard, Okay, and the wizard supposedly agrees to this, so everybody's happy now. Glinda's happy that her best friend is back in the fold and can be there for her wedding, which is just about to happen. Okay, and the wizard is happy that he doesn't have to like hunt her down anymore, and he can actually use her instead of trying to capture her. Okay, all right, so all that's going on. They leave, and the wizards, Elphaba's left alone with Chistery. He's the leader of the Blue Monkeys, and in gratitude for freeing him, okay, Chittery shows her this room, the secret room, which is not that secret. There's just like a painting in front of the doorway. So she just moves the painting and she walks right in. It's not like it's locked or anything, okay? And she goes in there, and what does she see? She sees a bunch of caged animals, okay? A bunch of caged animals. I mean, we're talking elephants, lions, tigers, goats, monkeys, birds, ducks, all sorts of animals, okay? They're all locked up in there. She recognizes one of them, a goat. That was her college professor, Dr. Dillamond. He has now lost the ability to speak because he's stuck in a cage. Let's explain how they do that. We get stuck in a cage, we don't lose our ability to speak, but apparently animals do. So, so once she sees this, she realizes that the wizard is a liar. I mean, she already knew that, but she realized that the wizard lied to her, okay, about freeing the animals. Okay, so she's all upset about this, and right at this moment, okay, the wizard surprises her and enters the room. Okay, now he left to go spruce up, and now he's returned, and he sees her, and he realizes that she's discovered his secrets, that he has been holding these animals prisoner. Okay, and he tells her, let me explain. Okay, I'm not a bad man. Okay, I know what you're thinking, but it's not what you think. Okay, let me just give me a chance to explain, okay? He's like, this isn't what it looks like. Okay, you need to understand that some animals cannot be trusted. Well, that just sets Elphaba off, because that's what Elphaba's been doing in the past 5 years, okay? She became an animal rights activist, okay? That's why she's basically Antifa, but for animals, okay? And she's performing little terrorist tactics against Trump's. Against the wizards' guards and stuff like that. Like, she's attacking the people that are building the Yellow Brick Road. She's attacking them. She's freeing animals. She's using her magical book, I guess, to help animals. I don't know how she's doing that. Okay, we don't really see what she's done with that magic book, except in this movie. We don't know what she did with it in the past 5 years, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so she's basically a terrorist. Okay, and now she realizes, okay, that the wizard has been lying to her, and will always lie to her, and you can never trust him. Okay, so Elphaba says, yes, I know that now. In other words, she's calling him the animal. Okay, and the wizard says, I am not a bad man. I'm not a bad man. And Elp says, yes, you are a very bad man. You once asked me what my heart's desire is. Well, now I know what it is. It is to fight you until the day I die. Down with the straight white men. Ah! Okay. Down with the patriarchy. Well, I know that's not what she said, but that's what she meant. That's what the people that wrote this movie meant. Down with the straight white men and the patriarchy. Okay? Because in case you haven't noticed, okay, these people hate straight white men, especially if they're Christian. Okay? They're always going to be the enemy in Hollywood. They're always going to be the bad guys, the patriarchy, the father. You're never going to see a strong father figure unless he's evil. You're never going to see a good straight white guy unless he's a coward. Okay? You're never going to see a smart white guy, straight white guy, unless he's a pussy. You see what I mean? The only time you're ever going to see a good white guy in a movie, okay, with no real flaws, is if he's gay. Okay? That's how Hollywood is. You see what I mean? Okay, and that's why the wizard, being a straight white guy, is the bad guy. Okay? I mean, look at the other bad guys. I mean, yes, you've got Jonathan Bailey, okay, playing Prince Fiero, okay, but he's a 1% guy, and the only reason he's allowed to be the stud in this movie is because he's gay in real life. Okay, they would never give that role to a straight guy. Are you crazy? Hell no. Okay, And who else we got here? Bach. Yeah, well, Bach is about as good looking as my asshole. I'm sorry. Ethan Slater is one ugly guy. I know that he left his wife for Ariana Grande and they fell in love making this movie, despite the fact that she was also married. I get all that. Ariana Grande sees something in him. Okay, but you got to remember, Ariana Grande also was screwing Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live. Okay, so her stud meter is totally whacked. Okay, probably from all the molestation she got from her Nickelodeon days. Okay, so like she's not the example. Okay, of how to get a high value guy. Okay, so yeah, she's a piece of crap herself in real life, not just in this movie. Okay, so yes, okay, so like there's no real men in this movie. Okay, that act like men, unless, like I said, unless they're evil or they're cowards. Okay, or they're stupid. And I'm sorry, but that's just not, like I said, I know this movie wasn't made for me, okay? But I mean, if you're gonna have heterosexuality in here, you're gonna have you need to have some believable men in there. The women can't all be fucking perfect, and the men are all flawed in some way. You can't do that. You see what I mean? Because nobody's gonna believe it. I know it's a fantasy for you women, but it's not real life. It's not real life. And a lot of you see crap like this when you're young. You think that's the way the world is once you walk out that door. It's not. It's not. Okay? That's the reason I have this channel. All right, so that's going on here. Okay, Elphaba uses her powers to free all the animals. Okay? Right there in front of the wizard, and then she tells the wizard, run. Because apparently the implication is that the animals are going to attack the wizard now. He's the one that locked him up. Well, they don't. I mean, they shove him to the side, but they all make a break for the door, okay, to try to escape. Okay, they don't bite him or drag him around or step on him or nothing. They just shove him aside so they can escape, okay, out the door, all right, which wasn't locked, okay, which there was no door. There was a doorway there, okay. All he had was a damn little picture of himself to cover it up, which Elphaba easily moved it out of the way, okay. This wasn't much of a secure facility, if you know what I mean, okay. So anyway, that's going on here. Okay, they all escape. Okay, they run into the wedding ceremony and they interrupt the wedding ceremony. All the guests have to flee, because you got a stampede, a herd of animals running right through there like Jumanji style, okay? They're just crashing the wedding, stepping on people. Well, they don't step on anybody, but yeah, okay, you get what I mean. They're knocking over chairs and tables and all the decorations, and all the guests are fleeing for their lives and screaming for help and all that stuff. So, of course, Glinda and Fiero's wedding is ruined now because of this. And we're talking like big animals, like rhinos, giraffes, and elephants, okay? Not just ducks and tigers, okay? So anyway, so Shen Shen is there. Okay, that's the body positive friend, lackey of Glinda. That's the fat one. And then the gay friend, Fanny. That's the Asian guy, the gay Asian guy from Saturday Night Live. They're there, okay, and they basically shit themselves over some parakeets attacking them. Yeah, they get attacked by a little bit of some birds, and they're just like, and they're trying to be like Tippi Hedren and the birds. It's disgusting and stupid. Anyway, that's going on here. Madame Horrible shows up finally. Okay, that's Michelle Yeoh, who cannot sing to save her life. Okay, yeah, you got an Asian woman in Oz. Okay, and she shows up and she announces to everybody during the stampede, like they're paying attention to her, okay, that the Wicked Witch is responsible for this, for ruining this wedding, for freeing the animals, okay, and that she wants to kill all of them. That's her goal. She says that out loud. This is the Wicked Witch of the West doing. She wants to kill us all. Like, how's that going to calm people down? Okay, they're already fleeing for their lives because they don't want to get stepped on by an elephant. Okay, how's that going to calm them down? Anyway, so she does that. Okay, and then some animals knock her into like the wedding cake. So you got the typical Brady Bunch wedding or whatever. Every sitcom does this. Whenever you have a big wedding cake there, someone always falls into it. Okay, well that's what they do. They shove her into it and she crashes into the cake. And she gets frosting and cake all over herself. Ooh, so funny. So original. So that happens here. Okay, the wizard runs behind his green curtain. He's fleeing for his life as well. Okay, and he hides there behind his green curtain. But Elphaba follows him. She follows him, then she uses her broomstick to choke him. So it basically slams up against his neck. She's like, oh, okay, so he can't breathe. Okay, and then she says like, how does it feel to have your voice stolen from you? Like that, okay? Because apparently in the land of Oz, if you put an animal into a cage, they lose the ability to speak. Okay, I guess that's what happened to Dr. Dillamon. Okay, so that's going on here. Okay, she's choking him, and I'm trying to say, why didn't she do this in the last movie? If she's this powerful, she could have attacked the wizard in the last movie, but she didn't. Instead, we had this big Keystone Cops caper of climbing up a hot air balloon trying to escape the guards. It took the guards like 3 hours to break down a little door, just stupid stuff like that, okay? And now we're getting some more of it. Like, why didn't you just do this in the last movie? Okay, at any moment during this movie, Elphaba is so powerful. She's so OP'd that she can easily take over Oz anytime she wants. She can kill the wizard. She can entrap kill Madame Morrible. She's the most powerful person in the land of Oz, but she does nothing with this power, nothing at all to help anybody. Apparently, she's helping the animals, but we don't see how she does that. She does try to talk them out of leaving, but they don't trust her. They don't like her either, so they leave anyway. Okay, which makes no sense, all right? It's just, this movie wasn't well thought out. There's enough plot holes in this thing to fly a 747 through. Okay, so that's going on here. He's trying to hide. Okay, Elphaba threatens him. Fiyero automatically shows up. Now, Fiyero is captain of the Gale Force Guards. Okay, their job in life, and their purpose in the land of Oz is to track down Elphaba and capture her. Okay, and the reason Fiyero took the job as captain of this guard is because he secretly wants to capture her first so that he can run away with her. Because he's a butt ugly in love with butt ugly Elphaba. Okay? Yes, I'm not making that up. All right? You would have to get a gay actor to play this role convincingly. Okay? So that's the reason he wants. Okay? He wants to find her first so he can escape, because anyone else who captures her is going to imprison her, okay, and torture her or kill her. Okay, that kind of thing. That's the real reason he did it. So now here she is. Okay, so he shows up immediately with his guard. Okay, while Elphaba is holding the wizard hostage. Okay, and he tells his guns. He tells all of his men. They've all got guns. He tells all of his men. Okay, everybody, go get some water and bring it here, as much as you can carry. Okay, and every single one of them puts down their gun and runs away to go find some water and bring it over. Why? Because there's a rumor going around that if you soak Elphaba in water, that she will disintegrate. Okay, but nobody knows if that's true or that's a rumor. Okay, but of course, all the men that are in charge with capturing her, they believe it. So they all leave Prince Fiyero alone to go look for some water. Okay, so that's going on. Meanwhile, Fiyero's got his gun on Elphaba. Okay. He does release the wizard, but then he points his gun at the wizard. This shocks the Wizard of Oz. He's like, what the hell? You're the captain of my guards. Why are you pointing a gun at me? And then Fiyero threatens the wizard, okay, and locks him into a big cage. There's a cage there. He locks him into a cage, okay, because all his guards are gone. He knows the guards would have stopped him if he tried to do that in front of them, okay. And then Fiyero and Elphaba, they stare at each other in silence for like 2 hours. And this is the first time they've seen each other since the last movie, okay? In the last movie, supposedly, Prince Fiyero fell in love with butt-ugly Cynthia Erivo, okay? You can't convince me of this. You can't, okay? You can't. All right, anyway, and of course, Elphaba fell in love with him because he's hot. Okay, she fell in love with him because he's gay, all right? You cannot going to convince me, okay? You know what happens when you see a good-looking guy with a butt-ugly woman? You know what that is? That's called a beard. The guy is gay, all right? And you're not going to convince me that he's not. But anyway, they look at each other for like 2 hours or whatever, and then Glinda automatically arrives, okay? And the wizard tells her that Fiyero is a traitor, that Fiyero locked him into this cage, okay? And that him and Elphaba are traitors, because remember, Elphaba promised to join him earlier, and now she's gone against him, okay? So he labels both Elphaba and Fiyero traitors to the land of Oz, okay? Now, without a word being said, okay, the wizard and Glinda realize that Fiyero and Elphaba are in love and that they're actually a couple, okay? Fiyero announces to all of them that he is going to leave the Emerald City with Elphaba. Not as a prisoner, but as his lover. I'm not supposed to believe that. Come on. Y'all have seen this movie, okay? You're doing it goddamn well. This is not realistic. Not the Land of Oz. That's more realistic than this. Okay, than Fiyero falling in love with Elphaba. This is a load of shit. This is a load of shit. Okay, at least in Idina Menzel, who played Elphaba on Broadway, at least she's decent looking. Okay, but Cynthia Erivo is about as good looking as my asshole. Okay, and she is currently GQ's Man of the Year. Yes, I said that right. GQ's Man of the Year. Okay, so that should tell you everything about the politics involved in the making of this movie. All right, so that's going on here. Apparently, she dick-napped him. Okay, they're a couple now. He's going to leave with her. Okay, and Elphaba tries to explain to Glinda, okay, that she didn't purposely try to steal Fiyero from her. But Glinda tells them, just go, both of you. You deserve each other. So clearly Glinda is upset. She's hurt, okay? She has had the hots for Prince Fiyero since the last movie. She's always wanted to be his girlfriend, okay? She's always wanted to be with him. She claimed him a long time ago, all right? And now she realizes that he's actually in love with ugly women. Not to say that Glinda's gorgeous. She's not, okay? Ariana Grande looks like she's been taking way too much Ozempic. All right, and it shows. Okay, but out of the two, I would take Glinda. I would take Ariana Grande because there are no attractive women in this movie. So you take what you can get. Okay, it's a consolation prize. Okay, every woman in this movie is butt ugly. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna get the least ugliest one. Okay, and that's what Glinda is. That's what Ariana Grande is. All right. So that's going on here. Okay, because the men are high value, but the women are not. All right, so that's going on. She's upset, okay? And then Elphaba and Fiyero, they proclaim their love for each other, and then they run away, all right? Okay, so I'm going to stop right here, but I will be back soon to continue my review of Wicked for Good. I thank you very much for watching this long, and I will see you soon on the next one. Bye.